Welcome to the Humanities Team podcast with me, Steve Farrell. Humanities Team is an international spiritual movement whose purpose is to communicate and demonstrate the timeless truth that we are all one, with the divine and all life, caring for each other and the world we share, so that people's actions reflect this profound understanding within our generation. We believe that living this truth is essential to resolving the most chronic and acute world challenges and vital to creating a flourishing world of peace, harmony, and happiness. We offer transformative education programs in personal and spiritual development, and we host an annual event called Global Oneness Day. Similar to Earth Day, which galvanized the global environmental movement, Global Oneness Day has become a catalyst for spiritual activism and an integral part of the present-day global oneness movement, which represents a profound new paradigm in human culture. Humanities Team is the only global nonprofit organization working in transformational education. Since we are a nonprofit, there is no focus on growing profits or satisfying shareholders, and 100% of all revenue goes toward our work supporting conscious evolution, planetary awakening, and flourishing at every level of life. If you'd like to learn more about us or want to support our mission directly through donation or volunteering some of your time, please visit us online at humanitiesteam.org. And lastly, if you enjoyed this podcast, we'd be grateful if you'd leave us a review.
Hey, good day, everybody, and here we are live. I'm Steve Farrell with Humanities Team, coming to you from our studio in Boulder, Colorado, and you can see I'm with this beautiful woman, Dianne Collins. She is coming to you live from Sunny Isles Beach, Florida. Boy, lucky Dianne, huh? Though it's pretty here in Boulder too.
It's beautiful here.
Great to have you with us, Dianne. So
thank you so much for having me.
You bet. Oh, we've been looking forward to this.
A quick hello. That I just want to say that it's such a joy to be here with you and with the entire Humanities Team community and this conscious field that you have co-founded, continue to generate, and it's just an honor and a privilege. Thank you so much. Yes,
together.
And it was amazing, and just everyone. I mean, I sound like Steve did not pay me to say this, but I think every aspect of what you're doing, every single one of your programs, the people who are attracted in are just the people who work to put this particular program together, the Acceleration Weekly, and I'm sure all the other parts of this program are just amazing. When you see these, when you read in the business journals, the Forbes greatest places to work. I had this thought the other day that Humanities Team, that has to be one of the greatest places to work, this place. And that's always been my experience here.
Now, let me give Dianne a proper introduction. She is fantastic. We're so grateful to have her with us. So Dianne Collins is the creator of QuantumThink system of thinking and author of the 6-time award-winning bestseller, Do You QuantumThink? New thinking that will rock your world, considered a must-read for our changing times. She is dedicated to people living spirited, joyful, and masterful lives through leaps in awareness and new thinking using what she calls the physics of mind. Dianne has been interviewed on more than 500 radio, internet, and TV shows. She is a featured blogger on the Huffington Post, a recipient of the Top 20 Conscious Entrepreneurs Award, and is considered the leading authority in new worldview thinking. And we were actually talking here a moment ago. There's actually a lot more we're not even getting to. This Diamandis program with technology, she's a part of that platform. So great to have you with us, Dianne. Hooray!
Great. Purely a joy. Thank you.
So, well, let's, as we get started, so this whole quantum thinking system, now there probably are some number of people here that are very familiar with that, but for those that aren't, can you take us through, how did you develop this technology? And you've written a book, and we're going to look at an online program you've just placed on the Humanity Stream Plus platform. We'll look at that in a little bit. But take us through, if you would, how you developed this unique and really thoughtful and valuable system.
Well, I have always said I had this revelation, which I'll get to in a second. That's my current 20 years ago revelation. But I realized, Steve, that I had a revelation when I was a teenager. And it's not unlike the time we're in now, where, you look in your notifications in your mobile phone and it's enough to make your head spin. And then you're in conversations, conscious conversations like these. And it seems like two entirely different realities. Now, when I was a teenager, it looked that way to me, that there was this tremendous gap between how we, as human beings, aspire to be, how we want to be embodying the great virtues, how we love to, have faith in whatever spiritual practice or the scriptures and whatever. And yet, in day-to-day living and in the public awareness, there was this gap. So I thought to myself, wait a minute, either I got off on the wrong planet or there's something wrong with this picture. So since then, I've had this quest, like, how do we go from merely knowing the wisdom to actually living it? And so you could say, I was really born a seeker. I was born, a metaphysician, a seeker along the spiritual path. And I'm also a Virgo, very practical. So I like to know, how does it work? How do we create what we really want for ourselves personally, our communities, the world at large, and, going out to the cosmos? So fast forward, and along the way, you come across the teachings. As you think, so you become. And we know this from the Buddha to the Bible to the Upanishads, that some variation as that our habits of thinking give rise to our actions and therefore to our results, even if you're not, into that on a metaphysical or universal law. It's a very logic. And so I thought, well, if all you had to do is change your thought to change yourself or the world, why does it still look like it does? So this is, the fast forward. And I'll try to make this somewhat succinct, this story. So what happened was that I was very interested in creating a television series. I like entertainment. So I wanted to create a television series that raised consciousness as you watch, something like what we're doing now. But, I just realized I forgot to give, the first revelation was the only way that we were going to have this shift in the world, where the world comes together, oneness as, key word here, and this fusion of all of us, of our uniqueness coming together in community and harmony as a world, was that it was going to take a leap in consciousness. And I feel very grateful that that awareness came through me at a very young age. So fast forward again, I happened to meet Fred Alan Wolf, who I'm sure you know. Do you know Fred Alan Wolf? People may know him from Dr. Fred Alan Wolf. He's authored many books. He's people may know him from the movies What the Bleep Do We Know and The Secret. Anyway, quantum physicist. I call him my mentor, quantum physicist. He wrote the foreword to my book. Anyway, so I met Fred, And I said to him, we were getting together with this independent TV producer in Connecticut. And I said, oh, Fred, I really apologize. I didn't have time to read up all of your books. He says, that's okay. Cram my head. You can cram my head. So it was adorable. And so that's what I did. So I started asking him all these questions. And he had written a book that won the American Science Award in the 80s. And it was called Taking a Quantum Leap. And where he was distinguishing between the classical mechanical worldview, also known as scientific materialism, also known as, in my loving words, the old worldview of the industrial age that gave rise to the industrial age, and the new quantum worldview, according to science. So he explained to me how we, that scientists make a discovery and they name it. And then that language, that term comes into our language, and through our language comes into our mind and our thinking. And so, in Do You QuantumThink, I use the example of a quantum leap because people understand that. So Max Planck, made the discovery that energy does not move in a smooth continuum, but it leaps in bursts. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a scientist. Let me give my disclaimer, but I do study it. And anyway, so it bursts in leaps. And what in packets of energy he called quanta, hence the term. And it really means an amount, which I'm sure you know, and a lot of people listening do. But the point being for me is that my revelation, and so now the word comes into our language, quantum leap, and we all use it in a colloquial sense, in an everyday sense, to mean something discontinuous with the past. That's a quantum leap. And by the way, I want to bring that up in regard to the 2040. I think we should think more in quantum leaps about the planetary awakening. But anyway, we'll get to that, right? So what my revelation is it's not one term. It was the whole system. And that we know we're in a universe of systems, and that if I could somehow, put this together for people, I call it, putting it all together so that there weren't these two realities, that we could expand the basis from which we think. So it wasn't, when you say, well, if thinking creates reality, what's creating our thinking? And that was the question that I was in. And I realized that our thinking as a system is shaped by the system that we call the overarching worldview. Very simply, the beliefs, ideas, assumptions, notions that we have about the nature of reality and how it works. So even though we know in our hearts and our souls that there is a much greater, infinite, unbelievably divine reality, multidimensional and all of it, that our thinking as a humanity, for the most part, and I'm not saying, different cultures around the world, depending if you're from the East, the West, but may have differentiation. But for the most part, we're brought up with this background assumption, only physical matter is real. And that being scientific materialism, which we know is, take matter. I say, what's a classical worldview sandwich? I'll take matter, sliced, right? Kind of reductionistic. keep the spirit on the side and hold the soul. So those aspects of reality have not, until now, everyone is yearning for these to come in. But getting to the end of, how did I create QuantumThink? So I thought, if I put these principles together, because I knew at that time and all the studying I had done and reading, the physicists who, the Tao of physics, and just all the literature that you probably know about, and studying the work of the people that you have as partners, as guests in Humanities Team. And looking at it and thinking, okay, the science is proving the spiritual wisdom that is universal to all mastery traditions. So what QuantumThink came through me in this way, I wasn't saying, hey, I think I'll think of a new system of thinking, which sounds a little audacious to begin with, but it was like I got the tap on the shoulder. Okay, this is your job, Dianne. Let's get this out. And because I have, this very logical mind and yet deeply a mystic, I could see how it all fit together. And this became the QuantumThink system of thinking, which is a system of 21 distinctions in thinking and recreations, I call it, practices for the mind and awareness that literally, instead of like being in, we're all in, sometimes industrial age thinking, sometimes quantum thinking, sometimes ordinary logic, sometimes, quantum logic, that if we could distinguish this in our awareness and start to think and look and live from the more expanded, accurate, up-to-date reality according to science, now re-merging, it was never separate, with spiritual wisdom of the mastery traditions and making it practical in modern life. And that's what it is. So it's like, instead of trying to get somewhere, you take a literal quantum leap in consciousness. And you're not trading in, the old world, the new worldview, the old worldview, because that would be old worldview thinking, which is either or, is this better? Is that better? No, it's an expansion, because we're at that point, as we all know, in our evolutionary cycle as a humanity and everything that we are related to as a humanity, where we are in this time of an evolutionary leap in consciousness. And so for me, just to end this part of the conversation, that we are here to be masters. We're in this incarnation, in this era right now, and you look around and you say, what is my purpose? What is our collective purpose? And of course, we know, and we're all a part of, and Barbara was a great pioneer of bringing that out to the world. And so we're in this time of evolution, of an evolution in consciousness. And I say the irony is it must be chosen consciously. So it's not just living, aspiring to the masters, it's becoming a master ourselves.
So I'll comment on that. Boy, beautiful. And then again, as I mentioned, so Barbara Marx Hubbard was working closely with Dianne. Dianne had come into a number of our programs with Barbara Marx Hubbard. And Peter Diamandis, you probably recognize his name. He's quite big out in the world, not just in Silicon Valley. And Dianne is giving him assistance in his work. So hey, let's go look at now a 4-minute clip. This is from this program that is on the Humanity Stream Plus platform. It's called Unlock Your Real Superpowers, 5 Natural Faculties of Mind. So let's go take a look, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit about it and this program, this online program that Dianne created. Here we go.
Mind is the great manifester, yet most of us still have not mastered our relationship with our very own mind. Master your mind, master your life. What does it mean to master your mind? Mind is the great manifester, yet most of us still have not mastered our relationship with our very own mind. By mind, I'm referring to something very specific. What you hold in awareness, what you hold in consciousness. Everything we know of, yearn for, imagine, and connect to is experienced through our very own mind, our awareness. So mind is not only thinking, mind is the individualized form of the all-pervasive infinite awareness, infinite intelligence, the one mind we're each connected to and part and parcel of. Your thoughts and the meanings you give your thoughts, your sense of the sacred, the spiritual heart, including your feelings of love, gratitude, appreciation, your experience of joy and kindness and compassion, your soul's yearning and sense of the sacred, all of this is experienced in your very own awareness, your mind. Your own mind can be a source of irritation and upset, or it can be your ticket to heaven. Young or old, rich or poor, man or woman, black or white, conservative or liberal, the fact is we all have to deal with our very own mind. And this is why I say the only thing to master really is your very own mind. Now the paradox is your mind is your life and you are not your mind. Your mind is your life because what fills your mind in any given moment is giving you your experience of life in that moment. And at the same time, you are not your mind because you are the great self that can become aware of what fills your mind. We sometimes call the individualized form of divine mind our higher self. So we're simultaneously the transcendent higher self and the immanent self, the roles we play in a worldly everyday sense. What we're accomplishing here in this course is the integrated self, the version of you that brings higher consciousness into daily worldly life. When you make this distinction, and thank you again, Bernice, for the question, and you start to look at what's going on in the world right now. And we know, and I had mentioned to Steve that, and people who know me know that I've been an avid student of astrology for 30 years. And my particular interest is following the energetic trends that are given by the planets. And I study Western astrology. Anyway, the point being is that when you're looking through these different lenses of life, and that's one of my lenses, that you see that we have been in a time of restructuring. The astrological time period would be from, wait a minute, now I'm forgetting, 2008. No, yeah, that was 2008. At the beginning of the restructuring of systems and structures of society. Now, when you look at how does QuantumThink connect up with this, and obviously we look in the world and we're there's a lot of fear going on because of so many upheavals, going into the age of Aquarius, which is the time of harmony, new thinking, higher wisdom, higher mind, and all of that, and technology. And we look at, what's going on here? I like to discuss this, what I call the cosmic perspective with everyone, because when you take this kind of broader view, this cosmic perspective, you'll feel better. You'll feel happier because you have an understanding. And what I was going to say with QuantumThink, that the institutions that we have been living in have basically been born from industrial age view thinking. And so with all of the genius that has created and manifested these institutions, we have, because of the time we're in for this leap in consciousness and going to the next higher aspect of living, the planetary pace, right? Planetary awakening, conscious evolution.
Picking up the pace.
That when you look at that, you realize that our institutions require a restructuring. We require to think about them in a new way that is more consistent with this planetary awakening, with how the technology and what I call, we're going to evolve in my maverick sense. We're going to evolve. Is it going to be crisis awakening or conscious awakening? And obviously, we're here to promote conscious awakening, so we don't have to have it happen, with the 2x4 over the head. So absolutely. This is when you look at this and you see the structures breaking down, we don't have to be afraid of it. That's my point. Because it's like I think my mother is listening. Let me give a shout out to her. She's 99 years old. She wanted to hear this. And it's like what I was going to say, meant to be, right? That we need to have the restructuring. So it's not a crisis that our institutions, the societal institutions as we've known them, are in this upheaval and restructuring. And this makes it even more important what is happening here with this kind of education. I love that you're doing Stream Plus in the context of entertainment, right? Lay back, watch it on Roku, Apple Plus, Apple TV.
And, so because you can go so much further faster.
Right, enjoy it. And, let's bring ourselves to this era that we have been fortunate to be born into and become the force in the society that we know we can be. Like, instead of being afraid of, oh my God, things are falling apart. And this is what I'm saying. So when you look at the system of thinking that created the system, the structures as we know them, now we need to bring the expanded thinking so that we can have the structures work in the best way going forward.
All right, and we have, there's still a whole bunch of questions here, Dianne. So now this is from Anne, who says, she says, and let me just first say, those of you on the Humanity Stream Plus that are in the Zoom room, any others that want to come on camera, just let us know and we'll bring you on camera face-to-face with Dianne. So this is from Anne. She says, I love this. Dianne, can you share your morning practices that you do daily, like meditation, prayer, affirmations, intention statements? And she says, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Well, thank you, because that gives me an opportunity to bring up my husband, Dianne Collins, who is a master QuantumThink coach and strategic QuantumThink consultant to mostly senior executives in major corporations, and I do some of that work with him. And he is my partner in all ways. And why did I bring him up? Oh, yeah, the question, Anne. Thank you for that question. Well, one of the things that I do, and I did mention this in my course, in one of the, I think it's in one of the modules in the course, is that I wake up and say, this is a glorious day. And that is my daily mantra when I first wake up. And I step out on the balcony and, Alan, my husband and I have our different, what we call chores. We have our accountabilities in the house, getting things together. He's Chef Alan, so he's preparing breakfast. I step out on the balcony and I say hello to the sun. I thank God every day for the beautiful everything that we have in this world. And why I brought up about Alan is that we have a daily practice that we've had for 32 years. Tomorrow's our anniversary of 32 years married, of reading from spiritual literature aloud to each other, with each other. We actually did that on our honeymoon. I brought a channeled book and a book called Meditate by Swami Muktananda from City Yoga. And, you know, that's what we were doing over Acapulco Bay. But we had fun too. And so we have continued that practice. We call it doing the lesson. We do that before we do anything else. We tune in so that we can tune into the highest and we can tune in with one another. And that is, you know, I do other things too, and meditative practices and chanting, but that is a practice that we do everywhere. We do it, as I said, on vacation, and it's sacred, and we hold that and continue to do it, and it's just amazing. And we've read a lot of the same books like 20 times over. It's like, you know, as you evolve, and I'm sure with any of the programs on Humanity's Streaming Plus, that you watch it again and again, and you get something else, because we're always in a new moment and we're always evolving. So anyway.
Yeah, boy, beautiful. Congratulations. 32 years, did you say? Yeah. Congratulations. Wow, that is so fantastic. Yeah, and aren't you blessed, you know, to find a soulmate like that, where you can be partners in everything, and here you're celebrating 32 years together. So big congratulations to you and your hubby.
Thank you. Thank you.
So here's a question from Greg. It's one of the things we were actually just starting to get to before we went to the program, where you were saying this is wisdom applied. So, and Greg is saying this all sounds very aligned with my thinking, but he's bringing in, so what are the natural applications? So where we cross over into from this quantum thinking system, you know, and this online program that you've created, to the kinds of changes that you've seen in your life, what you're manifesting in your life, how your life is working as a result of this system. Can you kind of take us through some examples, Dianne?
You mean of things that have already happened?
Just in terms of how you're driving, you know, and this is a tough question, because, you know, if this were asked to me, I'd say, well, my whole life is, you know, every day there's like,
right, it really is. But I do want to say something about, if I could say something collectively, but you're right. And, you know, my husband and I, 32 years, 34 together, but it's people who know us, we're like sparring partners, or I call it the morning debate. Okay, in addition, I didn't say this part. We do our spiritual practice, we do. But we don't agree on everything, even though our intent is completely aligned, and we are, you know, so blessed to be together. But so it's like, one of the things is when you get into this situation where, and I call it least action pathways borrowed from science, like, okay, maybe there's nothing wrong with us. Maybe we're just, you know, mechanical worldview. In many ways, we've become mechanical too. So I make this distinction between a thought. Well, we could do this right now. You'll free yourself of negative thinking. That a thought that just comes in when you think it's one mind, and it's the principle of non-locality, non-local mind. And so we know, you know, we're receiving spirit messages and everything. Well, we're in, I like to call it the thoughtosphere. So a lot of the thoughts we have, they're just automatic, because who knows where they came from. We try to make an analysis, but we'll never know for sure. And it doesn't matter when you're quantum thinking, is that when you have these automatic thoughts that are disparaging, or that I call wretched self syndrome, I'm not good enough, and every variation on that theme, that you make a distinction between a thought that visits from the surrounding thoughtsphere that I say you didn't choose. How do you know you didn't choose it? Because you wouldn't choose to have a disparaging or, a self-deprecating or thought about yourself or anybody else. And make a distinction between that and a thought that you originate. Because in every moment, we have an opportunity to create a new intent, to choose a new thought. And so when you can I put this label on it, oh, there's that least action pathway again. So getting back to the relationship, in a relationship, when this comes up and we have, these distinctions, we can say, wait, we're just in a least action pathway of our relationship. We can have a least action pathway of the culture, the media, least action pathways. What went wrong is wrong or will go wrong. It's an automaticity. And so rather, when you're quantum thinking, you go beyond the blame, shame, trying to find a reason why, my teacher told me when I was 2 years old, I'd never make it. It's irrelevant, because when you go to the mastery wisdom, which is this moment, is it being in the now moment, that you have, when you have this, I'm not telling people something that you don't already know at some aspect of your being, or you wouldn't be able to relate to it. What I'm doing is presencing it in a way that it activates in you. So to get to the practical, to the question, that what Alan and I do is we can snap out of it in a moment. Like anytime we come up with oh my God, what if this happens? And Alan will look at me and say, why would you want to be stuck in that reality? And I'd say, oh yeah, that's right. And this is, it actually is easy, because the beauty of the system, it's like a vortex. So as I like to use a very simple example, if you want to drive from Miami to San Francisco, let's say Miami to Boulder, you don't have to figure out every step of the way, because there's a system, a road system, a map system. And so you have free will within the system, but the system embraces you and makes it easier. So when you have thinking as these principles as a system, that's what happens. In the 5 faculties of mind, the same thing, because the 5 natural faculties of mind are distinguished throughout all the quantum think principles. So it's, works together. And this is what happens. And it's just, it happened to me. I don't know how much time we have, but I think this is relevant for Greg, that I just finished narrating the audiobook of Do You QuantumThink, which I'm so excited. It's coming out November 2nd. Okay. And I went into studio, and I went into this very famous, iconic studio in Miami called Criteria Studios. And so many hits have been there, made there. Hotel California, Saturday Night Fever. I mean, you name it. It's like an unbelievable place. And I was in this, well, what was made here? Oh, Eric Clapton's Layla, and all this amazing music. And this is the studio where I'm doing it. And Alan is sitting with the engineer. So I have a long book. So we were there 45 hours. The book isn't that long. It's like 20 something, but to record. And one day, and this is an actual experience, recent, Greg, is that I was speaking and my voice kept clogging up. Now, I do a lot of voice exercises. I started studying how to take care of my voice and the health of the vocal cords, because I realized I'm standing up in one spot speaking for 3 hours, so something unusual for me. And I couldn't clear my voice. And so Alan comes through the door into the studio and he says, come here for a second. And he said, what is your reality right now? Create a new intent. What thoughts were you having that this is going on? And I can tell you, everybody, in an instant, and I mean in an instant, it surprised me and him, because this was physical. I looked at him, and in the atmosphere of just everything about it, being in that mastery atmosphere, and it's like walking into a cathedral of music. It's like, I thought, let me get those mega hit vibes here. And going in there and being in that atmosphere, and I'm reading my own book for the first time aloud, and Alan is saying this to me, and my throat cleared in an instant. So when you say, what's the practical application? As you say, Steve, it's everywhere, because you're in command. I say in the next part of that clip, what comes after that is my mastery of the mind, which the spiritual masters say the mind is located in the spiritual heart. So it's not like the click, click, click of, it's not the cognitive click I'm talking about, the awareness. So when you I say, it's not mind control. It's not trying to control your thoughts. And again, that's where the system comes in, because it becomes a natural way of being when you make that leap. It's being in command of your state. And that is the most important, I think, thing for us to master, is our very own state. So it's not like you're not going to fall back and my voice gets clogged, or I get in an argument with Alan, or whatever, or get upset about something that goes on is frustrating, or read the news and like freak out. But that you can, as I like to say, snap out of it, pull yourself together, because you have that level of command. And, one of the vocal coaches, who's a famous vocal coach, Arthur Joseph, who I was studying to go into the studio.
Oh, he's a good friend too.
And he says, oh, really?
Arthur Joseph, yeah. I love Arthur. I worked with him for years. Yeah.
Oh, so
He's a dear friend, isn't he wonderful?
Oh, he's amazing. And the first two things he says is, gratitude to God. And the second thing is you take your stature. Now, he goes like that. Well, you probably know, because you've seen him in person. Right. I took it over the phone, and I restudied it before I went into studio, but he's marvelous. And, when you think about it's time for us to take our stature. And I think that a very important practical application, because being on, I call us lovingly the consciousness crowd, that being on this path and being committed to this planetary awakening and, a conscious planet, and hopefully Steve will shorten the time frame on it, that to be conscious of what we're holding in our awareness, because it's so easy for us to go into judgment, to go into the us and them. Oh, we're evolving, but are they? These are the nuances that I like to bring up, because it's not like I've perfected it, but when you raise your awareness so that you have awakened thinking, awakened awareness, that you can, it's not like you're monitoring every thought, as I wrote, consider the agony of that, not to mention the impossibility of it. But that's again where the system comes in. But when you start to have this as your way of being, and then you realize, oh, wait a minute, I like to think of it as we're all evolving. Some of us are aware of it.
If you'd like to receive all of our new podcast episodes, please click on the subscribe button. To find out more about Humanities Team transformational education programs and about how you can help support our mission, please visit us online at humanitiesteam.org, where you can also sign up for our email list so we can let you know about our free online events and other news about what we're up to each week. And again, if you enjoyed this podcast, please leave us a review. Thank you.